Lasst uns mit Gebet anfangen.
Dear Father in heaven,
Lieber Vater im Himmel,
I want to thank you again for this day of life
ich möchte dir ein weiteres Mal danken für diesen Tag des Lebens
and for all your blessings,
und für all deine Segnungen
your care towards us.
und deine Fürsorge uns entgegen.
I want to thank you, Father, that you want to teach us now more from the Bible.
Und ich möchte auch danken, dass du uns jetzt mehr von die Bibel lehren möchtest.
I'm asking that you will please help us through the Holy Spirit to comprehend more.
Und ich bitte, dass du uns hilfst durch den Heiligen Geist, dass wir noch mehr begreifen werden.
Please bless Brother Lawrence as he's laying his thoughts.
Und bitte segne Bruder Lorenz, während er seine Gedanken hervorbringt.
The translation and the live stream.
Und auch die Übersetzung und das Livestream.
Help us to be awake and understand
Und hilft uns wachsam zu sein und dass wir verstehen werden,
that this evening worship will be a blessing for us.
dass diese Abendandacht für uns allen ein Segen wird.
In Jesus' name.
In Jesu Namen. Amen.
Amen.
Alright, so yesterday we looked at Daniel chapter 1
So, gestern haben wir Daniel Kapitel 1 angeschaut
and today we want to look at Daniel chapter 2.
und heute wollen wir Daniel Kapitel 2 anschauen.
Let's turn there in our Bibles.
Lass uns in unseren Bibeln dahin.
Okay, so yesterday in Daniel chapter 1, what did we find out? Where does it begin?
So, Daniel Kapitel 1 gestern. Was haben wir herausgefunden? Wo fängt das an?
At the Sunday law,
Am
right?
Sonntagsgesetz.
So we saw here that there were these 3 days where they were to be prepared to stand at the king at the end.
Hier haben wir gesehen, es gab diese 3 Jahre, wo sie vorbereitet werden, sodass sie am Ende vor dem König stehen können.
Yes. And this was a parallel to the 10 days where Daniel and his companions were tested on the diet issue.
Es war eine Parallel zu dieser Zeit, wo Daniel und seine Gefährten diese 10 Tage lang an ihrem Appetit oder ihrem Diät, ihr Appetit getestet werden.
And we saw that at the end of the 10 days, the king's meat was taken away and pulse was given them.
Wir haben gesehen, am Ende der 10 Tage der Königsspeise würde ihnen entnommen und sie würden Gemüse gegeben.
So, and who took away? Let's just read this quickly in Daniel 1:16.
So, lass uns das schnell in Daniel 1, Vers 16 lesen.
It says, "Thus Melzer took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink and gave them pulse." So who took away the king's meat?
So, wer hat den Königsspeise weggenommen?
Melzer.
Melzer.
Okay. So just keep your finger here. Let's go to Zechariah chapter 3.
Haltet den Platz hier und geht zu Sacharja Kapitel 3.
And let's read verse 1.
Und wir lesen Vers 1.
It says, "And he showed me Joshua the high priest standing before the angel of the Lord, and Satan standing at his right hand to resist him." So who's this angel of the Lord in this illustration here?
Wer ist der Engel des Herrn hier in dieser Darstellung?
Christ, right?
Das ist Christus.
Okay. So, and now jump down to verse 4.
Und jetzt Vers 4.
"And he answered and spake unto those who stood before him, saying, Take away the filthy garments from him. And unto him he said, Behold, I have caused thine iniquity to pass from thee, and I will clothe thee with a change of raiment." So, who's taking away these filthy garments here?
So, wer nimmt diese schmutzigen Gewänder weg hier?
Christ,
Das
right?
ist Christus.
So therefore, who's Melzer illustrating
So deswegen, wem stellt Melzer da,
when he's taking away the king's meat?
als diese Königsspeise wegnimmt?
Christ, right?
Das ist Christus.
So he's illustrating a work of Christ
Er stellt ein Werk Christus da.
during which kind of judgment?
Während was für ein Gericht?
Investigative judgment.
Der Untersuchungsgericht.
Okay, so when we go back to Daniel 1,
So, wenn wir zurück zu Daniel 1 gehen,
we understand then they come before Nebuchadnezzar, right?
wir verstehen, dass sie jetzt vor Nebukadnezar kommen.
In verse 20,
Vers 20,
or 19 and 20.
Verse 19 und 20.
And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. So what did we establish yesterday? What kind of judgment is this illustrating?
So, was haben wir gestern etabliert? Was für ein Gericht stellt das hier?
Executive judgment,
Der
right?
Ausführung des
And
Gerichts.
who is the king in the executive judgment?
Und wer ist der König in der Ausführung des Gerichts?
Also
Das
Christ,
ist
right?
Christus.
So we can see
It just changes.
changes, right? Melzer is Christ during the investigative judgment, and Nebuchadnezzar is Christ during the executive judgment.
Hier können wir sehen, dass es sich verändert. Also Melzer stellt Christus dar während der Untersuchungsgericht und Nebukadnezar stellt Christus dar während der Ausführung des Gerichtes.
Yes, everybody can see this?
Kann jeder das sehen?
Okay, good. Right, so I just wanted to mention this, and now let's go to Daniel 2.
So, jetzt gehen wir zu Daniel 2.
So let's begin in verse 1.
Wir fangen in Vers 1 an.
And it says, And in the second year of the reign of Nebuchadnezzar, Nebuchadnezzar dreamed dreams, wherewith his spirit was troubled, and his sleep brake from him. Then the king commanded to call the magicians and the astrologers and the sorcerers and the Chaldeans, for to show the king his dreams. So they came and stood before the king. Okay, so
Das ist Vers 2.
what comes upon Nebuchadnezzar here?
Was kommt über Nebukadnezar hier?
Trouble, right? He's troubled.
Trübsal, also er wird beunruhigt.
Okay, let's go now to the livestream group.
So, gehen wir jetzt zu den Livestream-Gruppen.
And I posted this quote here from early writing. It's a second quote.
Also ich habe diesen Zitat hier von Frühschriften, das ist der zweite Zitat, das ich gepostet habe.
Because this view was given in 1847.
Also, mit dieser Ansicht wurde 1847 geäußert.
It's a very well-known quote.
Wohl bekannte Zitat
Okay.
unter uns.
It says, this view was given in 1847 when there were but very few of the Advent brethren observing the Sabbath, and of these but few supposed that its observance was of sufficient importance to draw a line between the people of God and unbelievers. Now the fulfillment of that view is beginning to be seen. The commencement of that time of trouble here mentioned does not refer to the time when the plagues shall be poured out, but to a short period just before they are poured out, while Christ is in the sanctuary. At that time, while the work of salvation is closing, trouble will be coming on the earth, and the nations will be angry, yet held in check so as not to prevent the work of the third angel. Okay, so where do we mark this beginning of this time of trouble here?
Wo markieren wir diese Zeit des Trübsals hier?
At the Sunday,
Das ist
right?
der Sonntagsgesetz.
And why again?
Und warum wo?
Yeah, the nations are angry.
Die
Right?
Nationen sind zornig.
Here we already marked angry nations.
Bereits hier markiert. Zornige Nationen.
The shaking of the earth.
Die Erschütterung der Erde.
Okay, and it says here, when the nations are angry, trouble will be coming on the earth.
Das sagt hier, wenn die Nationen zornig sind, dann Trübsal wird über die Erde kommen.
Okay, and Nebuchadnezzar, when he had this dream, he was troubled. Right?
Nebukadnezar, als diese Traum hatte in Daniel 2, war betrübt.
Okay,
She has a quote also.
beunruhigt sozusagen. Oder in Unruhe versetzt.
Trübsal, betrübt, is not the same.
Sad.
She has a quote where she talks about all the rulers are looking for means to bring back temporal prosperity. She mentions if only they would turn to the law of God or something, they would find all the answers.
I think it's the
or
Sabbath.
something along
This
that.
is the Sabbath, I think. Also Ellen White hat ein Zitat, wo alle Regierende oder alle Führungspersonen der Welt sind so beunruhigt. Aber Ellen White sagt, wenn sie nur zu Gottes Gesetz oder den Sabbat, glaube ich, zurückkehren würde, dann wird all ihre Trübsal beseitigt werden.
Yes. So, because they make the Sunday law, trouble comes upon the earth, right?
Und weil sie ein Sonntagsgesetz erlassen, Trübsal kommt über die Erde.
And you can see immediately when they make a Sunday law,
Und
The-
sobald dass
the
sie
Lord-
das Sonntagsgesetz machen,
brings about circumstances that they can get a warning against it.
der Herr bringt Umstände herbei, wobei sie eine Warnung erhalten können darüber.
Okay, and Nebuchadnezzar, he's now calling his magicians and soothsayers.
Und Nebukadnezar, der ruft diese Magiker, diese Zauberer,
And just keep your finger here, go to Genesis 41. Just
halten
remind
den Platz
ourselves.
hier. Und zur Erinnerung geht es zum ersten Buch Mose 41.
Because Genesis 41 is this parallel chapter to Daniel 2.
1. Mose 41 ist ein Parallelkapitel zu Daniel 2.
Let's begin in verse 1.
Fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years that Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. So also Pharaoh has a dream here,
So, Pharao hat hier einen Traum.
and jump down to verse 7 and 8.
Und jetzt die Verse 7 und 8.
And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears. And Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. And it came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. So he was also troubled.
So, sein Geist war beunruhigt.
And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof. And Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Okay, so the same illustration as in Daniel 2.
So, derselbe Darstellung wie in Daniel 2.
Okay, so let's go back to Daniel 2.
So, lasst uns zurück zu Daniel 2 gehen.
And let's read the next verses down to verse 11.
Und die nächsten Versen lesen wir bis Vers 11 hinein.
And we can read three verses each.
Wir lesen jeweils 3 Verse.
I will just start with verse 3. Daniel 2, verse 3.
Daniel 2, Vers 3 fangen wir an.
And the king said unto them, I have dreamed the dream, and my spirit was troubled to know the dream. Then spake the Chaldeans to the king in Syria, O king, live forever. Tell thy servants the dream, and we will show thee the interpretation. The king answered and said to the Chaldeans, The thing is gone from me. If ye will not make known unto me the dream, with the interpretation thereof, ye shall be cut in pieces, and your houses shall be made a dunghill.
But if he show the dream and the interpretation thereof, we shall receive of me gifts and rewards and great honor. Therefore show me the dream and the interpretation thereof. They answered again and said, Let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will show the interpretation of it. The king answered and said, I know of certainty that you will gain the time, because you see the thing is gone from me.
But if you will not make known unto me the dream, there is but one decree for you. For ye have prepared lying and corrupt words to speak before me, till the time be changed. Therefore tell me the dream, and I shall know that ye can show me the interpretation thereof. The Chaldeans answered before the king and said, There is not a man upon the earth that can show the king's matter. Therefore there is no king, lord, nor ruler that asks such things at any magician or astrologer or Chaldean. And it is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there is none other that can show it before the king, except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh.
Yes. Okay, so we understand how many times did they appear before the king or
3 times.
could not answer?
Das ist Vers 11. Also wie oft konnten die dem König keine Antwort geben?
3 times, right?
3-mal.
Okay. And at the end they say only the gods can show the interpretation.
Am
Right?
Ende sagen sie nur, die Götter können der Auslegung geben.
Okay. And let's just
82.
let's just go to Isaiah 41, I think it is, or 43.
So, lass uns zu Jesaja 41 oder 43 gehen.
Yes, Isaiah 41.
Jesaja 41.
And let's begin in verse 21 to 23.
Und wir lesen die Versen 21 bis 23.
It says, "Produce your cause, saith the Lord. Bring forth your strong reasons, saith the King of Jacob. Let them bring them forth, and show us what shall happen. Let them show the former things, what they be, that we may consider them, and know the latter end of them, or declare us things for to come. Show the things that are to come hereafter, that we may know that ye are gods." So here we have the gods, right?
So hier haben wir die Götter erwähnt.
"Yea, do good or do evil, that we may be dismayed and behold it together." So when are you a god with a small g?
So, wann wirst du ein Gott sein mit einem kleinen G?
There in Psalm 82.
Yes, but according to this,
That's when you can
Yeah.
tell.
yes, when you can tell the things to come from
So, wenn du,
from the things of the past, right?
wenn du die zukünftige Sachen erklären kannst von den Sachen der Vergangenheit her.
Therefore, these astrologers and magicians, what didn't they understand?
So, diese Zauberer und Astrologen, was haben sie nicht verstanden?
Yeah, they didn't understand the types, how they point to the antitype,
Die
right?
Typen nicht verstanden, wie sie auf das Antityp weisen.
They didn't really know Christ, that He is the Alpha and the Omega.
So, sie haben nicht Christus erkannt als der Alpha und Omega.
Okay, and therefore they were not able to interpret the dream.
Und deswegen waren sie nicht imstande, den Traum zu deuten.
Okay, and you want to make a point in Psalms
Yeah, if you go to Psalm
80.
82, it
82?
explains
Okay, let's go there. Psalms 82.
So, lass uns Psalm 82 gehen,
that gods are God's people.
dass diese Götter eben Gottes Volk sind.
Again in verse 1.
Fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, God standeth in the congregation of the mighty, he judgeth among the gods. How long will he judge unjustly and accept the persons of the wicked? Defend the poor and fatherless, do justice to the afflicted and needy, deliver the poor and needy, rid them out of the hand of the wicked. They know not, neither will they understand. They walk on in darkness, all the foundations of the earth are out of course. I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. But ye shall die like men, and fall like one of the princes. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for thou shalt inherit all nations. So Christ also said this to them, did I not say that ye are gods, referring to his people?
Christus hat sie auch gesagt, habe ich nicht gesagt, dass ihr Götter seid? Er bezieht das auf sein Volk.
Yes.
According to this verse.
Yes, and you are truly God when you can show the end from the beginning.
Und du bist wahrlich ein Gott mit klein G, wenn du das Ende vom Anfang her zeigen kannst.
Okay, and let's go now back to Daniel 2.
Und gehen wir zurück zur Daniel 2,
So let's read verse 11 one more time.
Vers 11, ein weiteres Mal.
It says, "It is a rare thing that the king requireth, and there's none other that can show it before the king except the gods, whose dwelling is not with flesh." Okay, so what do they basically also deny here?
So, was verleugnen sie auch hier? The dwelling is not with
They're
flesh.
not able to
Denying Christ
Yeah,
in the flesh.
Yeah, they basically deny that the divinity and the humanity.
So, sie verleugnen Christus im Fleisch, also die Göttlichkeit verbunden mit Menschlichkeit.
Yeah, so let's go to,
yes.
keep your finger here, let's go to 1 John chapter 4.
So, halte den Platz hier und geht zum 1. Johannesbrief, Kapitel 4.
First John chapter 4, and let's read verses 1 to 3.
1. Johannes, Kapitel 4, die Verse 1 bis 3.
It says, "Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits whether they are of God, because many false prophets are gone out into the world. Hereby know ye the Spirit of God. Every spirit that confesseth that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is of God, and every spirit that confesseth not that Jesus Christ is come in the flesh is not of God. And this is that spirit of Antichrist, whereof ye have heard that it should come, and even now already is it in the world." Okay, so here we can see if you deny the combination of divinity and humanity, you're this Antichrist
Also hier können wir sehen, wenn du
spirit.
diese
Okay.
Verbindung zwischen Göttlichkeit und Menschlichkeit verleugnest, dann bist du dieser antichristliche Geist.
And obviously then you're not able to interpret anything that God reveals.
Und bist dann nicht imstande, irgendetwas auszulegen, was Gott offenbart.
Okay, so let's go back to Daniel 2.
So, gehen wir zurück zu Daniel 2.
So it was these 3 times that they couldn't answer.
So, es war diese 3 Mal, wo sie keine Antwort geben konnten.
And now let's read verse 12.
Jetzt lesen wir Vers 12.
Daniel 2 verse 12.
Daniel 2 und Vers 12.
It says, "For this cause the king was angry and very furious and commanded to destroy all the wise men of Babylon." Okay, so how was the king and what does he want to do?
So, wie war der King und was möchte er tun?
He was angry
Er war zornig,
and he wants to destroy or to kill.
er
Right?
möchte zerstören oder umbringen.
Okay. Verse 13.
Vers 13.
"And the decree went forth that the wise men should be slain, and they sought Daniel and his fellows to be slain." Okay. So yesterday we read this quote, and I can just quickly repost this.
So, gestern haben wir ein Zitat gelesen und ich
Actually, or did we read it this morning?
habe es heute Morgen gelesen.
Spalding again.
So, Spalding und Miguel.
Yes. Okay. So let's just remind ourselves of this quote.
So, lasst uns an diesen Zitat erinnern.
Just post it here. Okay. So let's read it.
Lass uns dies lesen.
"I saw that the nominal church and nominal Adventists, like Judas, would betray us to the Catholics to obtain their influence to come against the truth. The saints then will be an obscure people little known to the Catholics, but the churches and nominal Adventists who know of our faith and customs, for they hated us on account of the Sabbath, for they could not refute it, will betray the saints and report them to the Catholics as those who disregard the institutions of the people. That is, that they keep the Sabbath and disregard Sunday." So what do they do then? They
Was tun sie?
will report you, right?
Sie werden dich melden.
Okay, which is deliver you up.
Die liefern dich aus.
Okay. And then next paragraph.
Nächster Absatz.
"Then the Catholics bid the Protestants to go forward and issue a decree that all who will not observe the first day of the week instead of the 7th day shall be slain. And the Catholics, whose numbers are large, will stand by the Protestants." Okay, so this is now this death decree, right?
Das ist diese Todesdekret.
Okay. And where do we mark this?
Und wo markieren wir dies?
What other story do we have to show this?
So, welche andere Geschichte haben wir dies zu markieren?
Yes, Esther, for instance, right?
Die Geschichte von Esther.
So let's keep your finger in Daniel. Let's go to Esther chapter 3.
So, gehen wir zu Esther Kapitel 3.
Let's begin in verse 1.
Dann fangen wir in Vers 1 an.
It says, "After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed and reverenced Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence." So, what illustration is this?
So, welche Darstellung ist dies?
It's the son-in-law, like Daniel chapter 3, right?
Das Sonntagsgesetz, wie in Daniel 3.
Okay, so they were not to bow down here.
Sie sollen nicht hier niederbeugen.
Now verse 3.
Vers 3.
Then the king's servants which were in the king's gate said unto Mordecai, Why transgressest thou the king's commandment? Now it came to pass, when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. So, what happened to Mordecai now here?
So, was geschah mit Mordecai jetzt?
Yeah, he gets reported, right?
Wird gemeldet.
Okay, and what didn't he do daily
Was hat
beforehand?
er täglich nicht getan?
Bow down.
He didn't bow down.
Er hat
Okay.
sich nicht niedergebeugt.
So we can see, therefore, that when the son-in-law comes, there will be a time period where you will still be in obscurity in some sense.
So, wir können sehen, dass wenn der Sonntagsgesetz fängt an, es gibt eine Zeitperiode, wo du noch im gewissen Sinne in Verborgenheit bist,
But then eventually you will get reported,
aber letztendlich wirst du gemeldet werden.
and then the state authorities will take notice of you.
Und dann die
Okay.
Staatsbehörden werden ja,
Dich, not,
take notice of. Sie werden deiner aufmerksam werden.
yes, okay.
Sorry.
No problem, I also got the German word. Okay, so and now let's see how the state reacts. Okay,
Lasst uns schauen, wie der Staat darauf reagiert.
verse 5.
Vers 5.
And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. Okay, how was Nebuchadnezzar?
Wie war Nebukadnezar?
Also full of wrath, right? When he made the death decree.
Voller Zorn, als er den Todesdekret erließ.
And also here Haman makes no death decree, right?
Und hier auch Haman macht ein
So
Todesdekret.
now let's go to Daniel chapter 3.
So, wenn wir jetzt zu Daniel 3,
Because Daniel 3 is this parallel illustration to Esther 3,
Daniel 3 ist diese Paralleldarstellung zu Esther Kapitel 3,
where they also are to bow down and they don't bow.
wo hier sollen sie auch niederbeugen, aber sie tun es nicht.
And now verse 8,
Vers 8 fangen wir an.
Daniel 3 verse 8.
Daniel 3, Vers 8.
It says, Wherefore at that time certain Chaldeans came near and accused the Jews. They spake and said to the king, Nebuchadnezzar, O king, live forever. And then jump down to verse 13.
Jetzt Vers 13.
So they report them,
So, sie melden sich.
and verse 13 says,
Vers 13 sagt jetzt.
Then Nebuchadnezzar, in his rage and fury, commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Then they brought these men before the king. Okay, so here, how is Nebuchadnezzar? Which condition?
Hier in welchem Zustand ist Nebukadnezar?
Yeah, also full of fury and rage, right?
Also voller Zorn und Wut.
Yeah, so like Haman was full of wrath, and it's just the same.
So dasselbe wie Haman, der war voller Wut.
Okay, so we can see basically that when the son-in-law comes, there will be a short time where you will be in obscurity,
So, wir können sehen, wenn der Sonntagsgesetz kommt, es gibt eine kurze Zeit, wo du noch im Verborgenen bist,
but then you will be reported, and this is when the state power will take notice of you.
aber dann wirst du gemeldet und es ist dann an diese Zeit, wo der Staatskräften deine aufmerksam gemacht werden.
Okay, so reported.
Hier gemeldet
Okay, or delivered up.
oder
Okay.
ausgeliefert.
And the state power is always furious, right?
Und die Staatsmächten sind immer wütend.
At least the evil ones. I mean, Darius the king was not furious. He was shocked that he.
Zumindest die Bösen unter sich. Also Darius, der König, der war nicht wütend, der war eher schockiert, dass er
That he was
getäuscht wurde.
ensnared. Yes.
Ja.
Okay, so therefore let's go now back to Daniel chapter 2.
So, zurück zu Daniel 2 jetzt.
So these 3 times that the magicians cannot answer, bringing us therefore here to this time when they now apply the death decree against you.
So diese 3 Mal, wo sie diesen Zauberern keine Antwort geben kann, das bringt uns zu dieser Zeit hier, wo sie den Todesdekret gegen dich bringen.
I just erase a few things here because otherwise it gets just too crowded.
Einige Sachen hier wegnehmen. auch des Platzes wegen.
Okay. So, DD for death decree
So, DD, Todesdekret,
is now brought against you.
der gegen dich gebracht wird.
But what happened?
Aber was geschah?
Let's go now to Daniel 2, verse 14 to 16.
Jetzt Daniel 2, die Verse 14 bis 16.
Then Daniel answered with counsel and wisdom to Arioch, the captain of the king's guard, which was gone forth to slay the wise men of Babylon. He answered and said to Arioch, the king's captain, Why is the decree so hasty from the king? Then Arioch made the thing known to Daniel. Then Daniel went in and desired of the king that he should give him time and that he would show the king the interpretation. Okay, so what does Daniel do here?
So, was tut Daniel hier?
Ask for time, right?
Bittet um Zeit.
Therefore, the death decree comes against you here, but it's not immediately executed. Okay?
Der Todesdekret kommt hier gegen dich auf, aber es wird nicht sofort ausgeführt.
Okay. And you apparently, when you come to this situation, should try to gain some time.
Und wenn du zu diesem Zustand, diese Situation hineinkommst, du solltest versuchen, Zeit zu gewinnen.
Okay. In order to do what?
Was zu tun?
To pray, right?
Zu beten.
So let's jump down to verse 17.
Lass uns Vers 17 lesen.
Then Daniel went to his house and made the thing known to Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, his companions, that they would desire mercies of the God of heaven concerning this secret, that Daniel and his fellows should not perish with the rest of the wise men of Babylon. So, we understand this is also an illustration of the sixth plague, right?
Und wir verstehen, dass dies hier ist auch eine Darstellung des 6. Plagens,
Where the threefold union comes together.
wo die dreifaltige Union zusammenkommt.
Okay, and what is God's people doing during the sixth plague?
Und was tun Gottes Volk während der 6. Plage?
Yeah, they will cry day and night for deliverance.
Sie
Okay.
rufen Tag und Nacht für Befreiung.
Okay. So cry
That's what Mordecai did.
day plus night.
So, die rufen Tag und Nacht.
And this is also what now Daniel and his companions do.
Und das ist auch, was Daniel und seine Gefährten jetzt tun.
And at the end, the Lord will answer your prayer,
Und
right?
am Ende der Herr wird dieses Gebet antworten.
Okay, let's read now,
Lass uns lesen.
verse 19.
Vers 19.
Then was the secret revealed unto Daniel in a night vision. Then Daniel blessed the God of heaven. So what happened to him?
Was geschah mit ihm?
Yeah, he received the revelation.
Er erhielt die Offenbarung.
Okay, so he was brought down to this point, and at the end, obviously, he had the full revelation. Right?
Er war zu diesem Punkt gebracht und am Ende hatte der vollständige Offenbarung gehabt.
Okay, so therefore, verse 19 brings us now down to this point when you know received the full revelation.
So,
Right.
Vers 19 bringt zu diesem Punkt hin, wo du die volle Offenbarung erhalten hast.
Yes, everybody
Amen.
sees? Okay, so now let's continue.
So, lass uns weiterlesen.
Verse 20.
Vers 20.
Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons, and removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise, and knowledge to them that know understanding. He revealeth the deep and secret things. He knoweth what is in the darkness, and the light dwelleth with him. I thank thee and praise thee, O thou God of my fathers, who hast given me wisdom and might, and hast made known unto me now what we desired of thee, for thou hast now made known unto us the king's matter. Okay, so what was revealed to Daniel?
Bis Vers 23. Was war Daniel geoffenbart worden?
Secret things.
Yeah,
The king's plan.
the secret things, right?
Also diese geheime Sache.
Which was how the Lord sets up kings and takes down kings.
Und das ist, wie der Herr Könige aufstellt und absetzt.
Okay, so let me just Okay, so you have now the secret things now belong to you.
So hier, diese geheime Sachen gehören dir.
Keep your finger here, let's go to Deuteronomy 29.
Halte den Platz hier und geht zur 5. Buch Mose 29, Vers 29.
And in German it's verse 28.
In Deutsch, das ist Vers 28. 5. Mose 29, Vers 28 in Deutsch.
It says, the secret things belong unto the Lord our God, but those things which are revealed belong unto us and to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law. Okay, so what is now the secret things? Once they are revealed, are they still secret things?
So, diese geheime Sachen, wenn sie einst geoffenbart worden sind, sind sie immer noch geheim?
No.
Nein.
Okay, so and once they are revealed, to whom do they belong?
So, nachdem sie geoffenbart worden sind, zu wem gehören sie?
Yes, it says to us and to our children.
Zu uns und unsere Kinder.
For what purpose?
Zu welchem Zweck?
Yeah, to keep God's law, right?
Um Gottes Gesetz einzuhalten.
So, in this revelation in Isaiah 6, what happened to Isaiah?
So, in dieser Offenbarung, Jesaja 6, was geschah mit Jesaja?
Self died and
Selbst starb und
Christ lived. Right?
Christus lebte.
Okay, so it was the new birth experience.
So, das Neugeburt-Erfahrung.
And what happens at the new birth
Und was geschieht bei der Neugeburt?
with the law of God?
Mit das Gesetz Gottes written in your heart.
It's written on your heart, right?
Dein Herz niedergeschrieben.
So you know, this revelation leads you to keep now God's law.
Diese
Okay.
Offenbarung führt dich dazu, dass du Gottes Gesetz einhalten
And
kannst.
this is also what is written here, that
Das ist auch was hier geschrieben.
once we receive the revelation, it's for us and our children that we may do all the words of this law.
Wenn die Offenbarung eins gehalten hat, ist es für uns und unsere Kinder, dass wir das Gesamte von Gottes Gesetz halten können.
Okay. Yes.
In relation to this morning study, would the secret things be the seven thunders?
Im Zusammenhang von der
Yes.
Studium von heute Morgen werden diese geheimen Sachen, die 7 Donner.
Okay, let's go to Amos chapter 3.
Wir müssen zu Amos Kapitel 3 gehen.
And let's read verse 6 to 8.
Die Verse 6 bis 8.
And verse 7 is the verse Sister Jennifer is referring to.
Vers 7 ist der Vers, zu dem Schwester Jennifer bezieht.
It says, Amos 3, 6 to 8.
Amos 3, Verse 6 bis 8.
Shall a trumpet be blown in the city, and the people not be afraid? Shall there be evil in a city, and the Lord hath not done it? So what is blown here?
Was wird hier gestoßen?
A trumpet, right?
Eine Posaune
In the city.
in der Stadt.
Okay, because what is about to come upon the cities?
Denn was kommt sobald auf die Städte?
Destruction, right?
Zerstörung.
Okay. Verse 7.
Vers 7.
Surely the Lord God will do nothing, but he revealeth his secret unto his servants the prophets. So when will he bring the punishment upon the cities?
So wann wird die Bestrafung über die Städte bringen?
After he revealed the secret. Right?
Nachdem die Geheimnis offenbart.
He never punishes without
Yes, because he never punishes without
Weil
warning.
bestraft nie, ohne vorher zu
So
warnen.
therefore he reveals now the secret things about how he takes down kings and how he sets up kings.
So, offenbart hier die geheime Sachen, wie nun Könige absetzt und aufsetzt.
And then verse 8.
Vers 8.
The lion hath roared, who will not fear? The Lord God hath spoken, who can but prophesy? Okay, so the secret things that get revealed to God's prophets are connected now with the lion roaring, right?
So, diese geheime Sachen, die Gottes Propheten geoffenbart werden, ist in Verbindung mit der Löwe, der brüllt.
Okay, so keep your finger here. Let's go to Revelation chapter 10.
Halte den Platz hier und geht zur Offenbarung 10.
And let's begin in verse 1 and let's read down to verse 3.
Und wir fangen in Vers 1 an, lesen bis Vers 3.
And we'll see here also is this lion roaring mentioned.
Hier werden wir sehen, wie diese Löwe, der brüllt, auch erwähnt wird.
And I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, clothed with a cloud, and a rainbow was upon his head, and his face was as it were the sun, and his feet as pillars of fire. And he had in his hand a little book open, and he set his right foot upon the sea, and his left foot on the earth, and cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roareth. And when he had cried, 7 thunders uttered their voices. So here we can see, when the lion roareth, it utters 7 thunders. Right?
Hier können wir sehen, wenn der Löwe brüllt, er erwähnt 7 Donner oder spricht 7 Donner.
In Amos chapter 3, it was
In Amos 3,
connected with the revelation of the secrets to God's prophets.
das war in Verbindung mit der Offenbarung der Geheimnis zu Gottes Propheten.
Okay.
Geheimnis.
So therefore, the secret things are these 7 thunders that the Lord will reveal to you.
So diese geheime Sachen sind die 7 Donner, die der Herr dir offenbaren wird.
Because what was John not to do with the 7 thunders?
Denn was sollte Johannes nicht mit den 7 Donnern tun?
Not right then,
Er soll
right?
sie nicht niederschreiben.
They're like hidden,
Sie
okay.
sind verborgen.
and the Lord needs to reveal them to you.
Und der Herr muss sie dir offenbaren.
They're sealed up, but
Es ist versiegelt.
Daniel stands in his lot where they're unsealed. It's
Yeah.
the ring.
Aber Daniel steht in seinem Los, wo sie entsiegelt wird. Das ist das Spätregel.
Yes, also let's go to Revelation 22.
Dann gehen wir jetzt zu
Confirm
Offenbarung
this.
22.
And let's read verse 10.
Vers 10.
It says, And he saith unto me, Seal not the sayings of the prophecy of this book, for the time is at hand. Okay, so what was not to be done with the sayings of the book of Revelation?
So, was soll nicht getan werden mit den Sachen des Buches Offenbarungs?
And not to seal one.
Yeah, not to seal them,
Soll
because
nicht versiegelt werden,
the time was at hand. Right?
weil die Zeit ist da.
Okay, go to Revelation 1.
Geht zur Offenbarung 1.
Revelation 1,
Offenbarung 1
verse 1.
und Vers 1.
Says, The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to show unto his servants things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. So,
Verse 10.
yes. So it says here, to whom was this revelation given?
Es sagt hier, zu wem würde diese Offenbarung gegeben? Servant,
To his servant, right?
sein Diener.
Because something is now shortly come to pass.
Weil irgendetwas wird sogleich zustande kommen.
And
Oder geschehen.
jump down to verse 3.
Vers 3.
Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand.
Die Zeit
Okay.
ist da.
So therefore, when you receive the revelation,
So, wenn du die Offenbarung erhältst,
then the time is at hand. It's shortly come to pass.
dann
Right?
die Zeit ist da. Es wird ins Kurze geschehen.
Okay. And what is shortly come to pass?
Und was wird ins Kurze geschehen?
Jump down to let's go back to Revelation 22.
Gehen wir zurück zu Offenbarung 22.
Verse 12.
Vers 12.
We read verse 10 and now let's read verse 12.
Vers 10 gelesen, jetzt lesen wir Vers 12.
It says, And behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So what is shortly come to pass?
So, was wird ins Kurze geschehen?
Yeah, the second coming of
Das
Christ.
zweite
Right?
Kommen Christi.
Okay, and now go to Genesis 41.
Jetzt gehen wir zu 1. Buch Mose 41 wieder.
Which is a parallel to Daniel 2.
Das ist eine Parallel zu Daniel 2,
Where we go, Genesis 22?
41.
41.
41. And let's read verse 28.
Und Vers 28.
This is when Joseph now interprets the dream to Pharaoh.
Hier ist, wenn Josef den Traum dem Pharao auslegt.
It says, This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh. So something that is about to come, right?
Deutet irgendetwas, was gleich geschehen
And jump down
wird.
to verse 32.
Vers 32.
And for that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass.
Wird es ins Kurze herbeibringen.
Revelation 1 verse 1, right?
Das ist Offenbarung 1, Vers 1, wie wir gelesen
Okay, so therefore Daniel, Joseph, what did he receive?
So, deswegen Josef, was hat er erhalten?
Yeah, the revelation, right?
Offenbarung.
Which was the secret things.
Das war die geheime
Okay.
Sachen.
And therefore, when you jump down to verse 45,
Und deswegen, wenn wir zu Vers 45 kommen,
and Pharaoh called Joseph's name Saphnath-Paneah, which means
Saphnath-Paneah bedeutet
revealer of secrets.
so Offenbarer der Geheimnisse.
Okay, so therefore we can see that once you stand here, the secret is now revealed to you, and you will now prophesy what is shortly come to pass.
So, du kannst sehen, wenn du hier stehst, diese Geheimnis ist dir geoffenbart und es ist dir geoffenbart worden, das, was ins Kurze geschehen wird.
Okay, so the point to here,
So, er weist hier drauf, auf diesen Wegmarker hin.
and this is shortly.
Und das hier wäre dann ins Kurze.
And he will, in the Revelation is about setting up kings and taking down kings.
Die Offenbarung handelt sich eben darüber, über wie Könige auf- und abgesetzt werden.
And for us this would be midnight, right?
Und für uns dies wäre dann Mitternacht.
So what can we therefore expect? What will take place there?
So, was können wir erwarten? Was wird da stattfinden?
Biden will fall, right?
Yes,
Biden
king
wird
fallen.
stürzen.
He will take down the king.
Er wird den
Okay.
König absetzen.
He will break the great horn
Yes.
of Daniel 8.
Er wird diese große Horn von Daniel 8 brechen.
Okay. And he will, as you said, he will also bring these punishments on the cities.
Und es
Okay.
gibt auch diese Bestrafung, die über die Städten kommen wird.
Okay. And therefore, this is basically what the Lord will reveal to us clearly.
Und dies ist es, was der Herr uns deutlich offenbaren wird.
Okay. So let's go now back to Daniel 2.
So, lass uns zurück zu Daniel 2 gehen.
So in the verse 19 he received the revelation, and then down to verse 23 he was praising God.
So, in Vers 19 hat er die Offenbarung erhalten und bis Vers 23 hat er Gott gelobt.
Okay. And then so that would mark this point here, right?
Das wäre dann diesen Punkt hier markiert.
Okay. Now verse 24.
Jetzt Vers 24.
Therefore Daniel went in unto Arioch, whom the king had ordained to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus unto him, Destroy not the wise men of Babylon, bring me in before the king, and I will show unto the king the interpretation. So who was Arioch here?
So, wer war Arioch hier?
He was the destroyer.
Er war der
Okay.
Zerstörer.
And what happens now once you receive the revelation? What?
Says even the
You
devils
control it.
listen to you.
Yes,
The control of it.
you command now Arioch, right?
So, was geschieht, wenn du die Offenbarung bekommen hast? Also du kontrollierst Arioch.
He said, Destroy not, right?
Er sagt, zerstöre sie nicht.
So, and this is at the seventh plague when it says it is done, God's people get delivered, and you now write the answer.
Das ist an der 7. Plage, wo der Herr sagt, es ist getan und Gottes Volk wird befreit und du reitest jetzt den Esel.
Okay. Verse 25.
Vers 25 jetzt.
Then Arioch brought in Daniel before the king in haste, and said thus unto him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah that will make known unto the king the interpretation. So how was he brought in before the king to
So
give the
wie-
interpretation?
Ist er vor dem König gebracht worden, um
haste,
die
right?
Auslegung zu geben? Im Eile.
Joseph was also brought in
Yes.
haste, right?
Josef wurde auch im Eile gebracht vor Pharao.
Okay. So therefore we have a haste here.
Und hier markieren wir auch in Eile.
Let's continue.
Lass uns weiterlesen.
The king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, Art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen and the interpretation thereof? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king hath demanded, cannot the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, the soothsayer, show unto the king? But there's a God in heaven that revealeth secrets, and maketh known to the king Nebuchadnezzar what shall be in the latter days. Thy dream and the visions of thy head upon thy bed are these. As for thee, O king, thy thoughts came into my mind upon my bed, thy bed. What should come to pass hereafter? And he that revealeth secret maketh known to thee what shall come to pass. So the same as in Joseph's story, right?
Dasselbe wie in der Geschichte von Josef.
What God is about to do, he showeth unto Pharaoh.
Das, was Gott im Kürze tun wird, lässt Pharao jetzt sehen.
So and then we understand the next verses, he just relates the dream.
So, wir wissen in den nächsten Versen, legt diesen Traum aus.
Okay, so he gives the prediction basically.
Gibt in demgemäß eine Vorhersage.
So now let's go down to verse 46.
Jetzt gehen wir zu Vers 46.
So this is then the prediction.
Das wäre denn hier die Vorhersage.
Would be this point.
So hier an diesem Punkt.
9th hour.
An der 9. Stunde.
Okay. And then verse 46.
Vers 46.
Then the king Nebuchadnezzar fell upon his face and worshipped Daniel, and commanded that they should offer an oblation and sweet odors unto him. The king answered unto Daniel and said, Of a truth it is that your God is a God of gods and a Lord of kings and a revealer of secrets, seeing thou couldest reveal this secret. Then the king made Daniel a great man and gave him many great gifts, and made him ruler over the whole province of Babylon, and chief of the governors over all the wise men of Babylon. Then Daniel requested of the king that he set Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego over the affairs of the province of Babylon, but Daniel sat in the gate of the king. Okay, so what happened to Daniel here?
So, was geschah mit Daniel hier?
Yeah, he's lifted up, right?
Wird erhoben.
And Nebuchadnezzar bows down before him,
Und
right?
Nebuchadnezzar beugt sich vor ihm.
Okay, now let's go back to Genesis 41.
Jetzt zurück zur Offenbarung, 1. Buch Mose 41.
And jump down to verse 41.
Vers 41.
This was after Joseph gave the interpretation, like Daniel.
Das war nachdem Josef der Auslegung gegeben hat, so wie Daniel.
41.
41.
Daniel got exalted over Babylon,
Daniel würde über Babylon erhöht.
and it says here, And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, See, I have set thee over all the land of Egypt. So he gets now lifted up over Egypt, right?
Wird hier über ganz Ägypten erhöht.
And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand, and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen, and put a gold chain about his neck. And he made him to ride in the second chariot which he had, and they cried before him, Bow the knee, and he made him ruler over all the land of Egypt. So everybody is now to bow down before Joseph, right?
So, jeder soll sich vor Josef niederbeugen.
And jump down to verse 46.
Jetzt Vers 46.
And Joseph was 30 years old when he stood before Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went throughout all the land of Egypt. So how old was Joseph?
Wie alt war Josef?
30 years old, right?
30.
He received the baptism.
Hat die Taufe erhalten.
Okay, and then he went throughout all the land of Egypt. So he was sent.
Dann ist durch das ganze Land Ägypten gegangen, also demgemäß war gesandt.
And in the 7 plenteous years, the earth brought forth by handfuls. So when he was sent, what started there?
So, als gesandt wurde, was fängt da an? 7 good years.
The 7 good years, the 7 years of plenty.
7 gute Jahre.
Which is what time?
Jahre der Fülle. Und was ist das für eine Zeit?
The time of peace, right?
Eine Zeit des Friedens.
So, therefore, and we understand this is here the little time of peace, okay?
Wir verstehen, dass dies der kleine Zeit des Friedens ist.
So, 7 years,
7 Jahre.
plenty.
7 Jahre der Fülle.
So, Joseph stands here, he gives the prediction,
So, Josef steht hier, gibt die Vorhersage.
but when he stood here, what was given to him at the beginning?
So, als hier steht, was ist ihm am Anfang gegeben worden?
Maybe just go down to verse 14.
So, in Vers 14.
Genesis 41, verse 14.
So 1. Mose 41, Vers 14.
Says, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon. Now, how was Daniel brought before the king?
Wie ist Daniel vor der König gebracht worden?
In haste,
In
right?
Eilen.
And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh. So he came with a new garment, right?
Kam hier mit einem neuen Gewand an.
So take away the filthy garments, the prison garments,
Nimm diese schmutzigen Gewänden, diese Gefängnisgewänden weg
and he received a new garment.
und erhielt hier ein neues Gewand.
So this is this garment here.
So das hier markiert dieses Gewand.
But in verse 41, when he set over all of Egypt,
Aber in Vers 41, wenn über ganz Ägypten gestellt wird,
and then in verse 42 it says,
Vers 42 sagt es,
And Pharaoh took off his ring from his hand and put it upon Joseph's hand, and arrayed him in vestures of fine linen and put a gold chain about his neck. So what did he receive here?
so was erhielt hier?
Second garments, right?
Zweite Gewand.
But it's not,
Yeah.
it's a people, it's not one person.
Yes. So we can see basically, yeah, that one garment is given here,
Also wir können sehen, dass eine Gewand wird hier gegeben.
When the prediction comes
and the second garment
Aber der zweite Gewand,
is basically when he's sent forth throughout the land of Egypt in the 7 plenteous
wenn
years.
gesandt werden durch das ganze Land Ägyptens während diesen 7 Jahre der Fülle.
Okay, so therefore, at least at the moment, this is what it looks like, that you have a garment here, okay.
So sieht das im Moment aus, dass du hier eben eine Gewand hast.
And then
Aber dann
a garment here when all the people are gathered together
ein Gewand
and
hier,
sent. Okay.
wenn alle in diese Zeit zusammengebracht worden sind und gesandt werden.
Because Joseph, he's the one giving the prediction, but all those that join here, they will also be part of Joseph.
So,
Okay.
Josef, der ist derjenige hier, der Vorhersage gibt, aber all diejenigen, die ihm hier anschließen, die werden dann auch Josef.
And it's the same when yesterday you're looking at Daniel 1.
Das ist dasselbe gestern, wie wir Daniel 1 angeschaut
The
haben.
king's meat's taken away from them.
Der Königsspeise ist ihm weggenommen worden.
And they're given this pure food, so they're given something.
Und sie werden diesen Gemüse gegeben, also dieser reines Essen gegeben, also ihnen wird irgendetwas gegeben.
It says they received visions, knowledge in all visions and dreams, so now they can give the prediction.
Und sagt, sie haben Erkenntnisse in alle Visionen und Träumen gegeben, also sie können die Vorhersage dann geben.
Okay, then at the end, they're 10 times better. That's the latter rain before.
Und dann am Ende sind sie das,
When the prediction comes true.
Mhm.
am Ende sind sie das 10-fach besser als alle anderen. Und das ist, wenn die Vorhersage zutrifft und der Heilige Geist ausgegossen wird.
So it's a total parallel
Yes.
thought.
So ist es eine genaue parallele Gedanke.
Because all those people that would join along this time here,
Denn all diejenigen, die hier Josef oder Daniel anschließen werden,
yeah, they also will give the prediction, right?
sie werden dann auch die Vorhersage, also die werden den Ruf auch geben.
Prediction will
Well, they'll exercise
come
faith. and-
true here.
Oder
Yes.
zumindest werden sie Glaube darin ausüben.
Because all those that joined the midnight cry also give the
Swell
midnight
the
cry.
cry.
Yeah.
So all diejenigen, die Mitternachtsruf anschlossen, sie haben geholfen, diesen Ruf eben lauter zu geben.
Alright, so therefore also Daniel in Daniel chapter 2, when we just go back to Daniel 2,
Daniel in Kapitel 2, wenn wir da zurückgehen.
Maybe it's marking when the prediction comes true, you just receive even more of the Spirit, because now it's come true.
yes. So Daniel 2, therefore in verse 46 down to verse 49,
So Daniel 2, die Verse 46 bis 49.
when Daniel is now made ruler over all of Babylon, would be then also illustrated here that he would represent the whole
Wo
people.
Daniel Herrscher über ganz Babylon gemacht wird, das wird auch hier markiert, wo er letztendlich das ganze Volk darstellt.
Just like Joseph.
Genauso wie Josef.
Okay, so everybody could follow, no?
Konnte jeder mitfolgen?
Gut. Then I hope we have now a clearer understanding of Daniel 2
So, ich hoffe, dass wir jetzt eine klarere Verständnis von Daniel 2 haben
and also Genesis 41.
und natürlich 1. Buch Mose 41
And tomorrow, by God's grace, we will continue with Daniel 3.
und morgen, so Gott will, werden wir fortsetzen mit Daniel 3.
Okay, any questions left?
Hat jemand Fragen?
I was thinking about how can we explain that in the first 3 plagues when the magicians in Exodus that they could counterfeit those plagues, but here they cannot tell a prediction in Daniel 2.
So, meine Frage ist so im 2. Buch Mose, die ersten 3 Plagen, also die Zauberer können die ersten 3 Plagen fälschen, aber hier in Daniel 2 können sie es nicht.
Yes, I would also answer it's just two different
Revelation
right.
13, they bring down fire from heaven.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like on Mount Carmel, right? The Lord doesn't permit them to bring down fire there.
So they give a false message in this time, but they cannot interpret the true message.
Also sie geben hier eine falsche Botschaft in dieser Zeit, aber sie können den wahren Botschaft nicht auslegen.
In this time.
Achso, in dieser Zeit.
So that's how I would answer.
So werde ich das verstehen.
Okay. Any other question, thought?
Hat jemand Fragen oder Gedanken?
Okay. Then let's close for this evening.
Dann lass uns für heute Abend Schluss machen.